Different people from Utah. Hey, we're live. Hey, look at that. We're back. It's May, and here's our photo focus Lightroom Hangout for May.
We're
Super
on.
topic. We're on.
Like
Levi,
it.
how are you? Where our topic is black and whites this month, focused on portraits. Hey, not to say it can't be applied to other things. But before we jump in, I'd like to thank our sponsors. We've got 2 sponsors this month, which is awesome. Thank you to our 2 wonderful sponsors. So Drobo is one of our sponsors. They sponsored us in the past, and they're kind of back again, and that's awesome. Thank you, Drobo. Our other sponsor, who's been really with us for a while now, Athentech, makers of perfectly clear, perfect exposure, perfect eyes, Lucid, really a bunch of really awesome editing suites. So we're going to be sharing some of that stuff later on, but definitely want to mention one of their plugins is actually free right now. And I'll be showing that one, Perfect Exposure. So I'll put the link up to do that. But before we get further into things, I want to say hi to my buddy Levi Sim, who is, I think you're home, are you, Levi?
I'm at home. I'm in my new studio and office.
All right.
And I haven't decorated yet.
Yeah, you need to put some stuff on the wall. But
right.
It's better than all the boxes that were up there.
It's better than Box City. Yes.
Yeah. So Levi is at home. I'm at home too.
And we're across the country from one another. So
yeah. I'm kind of facing
I just had
west.
lunch and Rob just had dinner.
I'm actually holding off on dinner, so if my stomach rumbles, it's kind of late for me. Yeah, so I'm kind of facing west to you guys, so I've got a little bit of sun in my face. And Levi, who's our special guest?
Well, our special guest today is none other than the infamous Mykii Liu, who is just one of the finest photographers. I said on Facebook the other day that Mykie's my man crush. I don't know if Mykii saw that one.
I saw that.
Because everything this guy produces is just a striking photograph, and he does it so simply.
Yeah.
We had to have him on. Plus, he's one of our co-authors on Photo Focus.
Yeah, that's true.
And we're glad to have him there.
He's a great
guy. So welcome, Mike.
Yeah, I'm really glad I finally got to meet him in person at past Photoshop World, and he's actually a pretty tall dude. Without even the hair. Without the hair, he's even.
Without the hair, he's up there. Yeah.
Coming in at 6 foot. Not too bad.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Mykii, where are you right now?
I'm based out of Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm actually over on the Summerlin side, where it's super nice by Red Rock. It's just gorgeous out here right now. I can't even explain to you how nice it is outside.
Yeah.
Here in Vegas.
That's awesome. Well, I'll be out there in July, so maybe
we'll be there.
Yeah.
What's happening in July, Rob?
Photoshop World. I'll be out there.
Yes. And in fact, our viewers here ought to join us for a breakfast when we get to Photoshop World. So I hope if you guys are nearby, we'll be hosting a breakfast and a rockin' awesome photography party at the Pinball Hall of Fame.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So definitely, Photo Focus always does some fun things. So we'll be so check out photofocus.com to stay tuned with whatever we've got going on there. Things are starting to take shape. Let me share before I forget a couple things. So the way that we always give away some fun things, and our sponsor, Athentech, has given us a few plugins. Actually, we have 3 things to give away at the end of our Hangout. And so the way that we do that, I'm going to share my screen, and let's see, make sure, let's grab the whole desktop here, and so I'm not doing the infinite thing there. So here's a screen capture I've done that I share out. So if you're watching this Hangout just by watching the stream, maybe on the Photo Focus page or somewhere else, you want to come over to the Google Plus Hangout. The link is right on the Photo Focus page there with a link that jumps right over here. When you're watching this, you can see there's a Q&A button there. When you're actually in the live stream here, up here in the top is a little icon with a little grid here. Click on that and choose the Q&A button. That's going to open this side panel where you can click, ask a new question, and that's the way you get entered to win the giveaways at the end. You can ask a question, you can leave a comment, however your name gets entered in there, Levi takes it down, and he pulls out the winners at the very end. While I'm here sharing my screen, I'm going to put up, this is the link here. If you want to go grab Perfect Exposure, it's free. Get it free right here. It's a really cool plugin for Lightroom and for Photoshop, and I use it. I'll actually show you one way that I use it later on here. So that's we already have some people saying hello. Great. Hello, Dana, James, and Cecil. Good to see you guys again. All right, so our topic this month is black and white portraits. So, Levi, what can you tell us about this topic and how?
Oh man, what can I tell you? I spend way too much of my time producing black and white portraits, and I love it.
You do. Yeah.
I try to push them on all of my clients. I try to make everybody in the world have a black and white Steve Jobs portrait.
Yeah. So many of my Facebook friends are, myself included, all till recently, usually was a photograph, one of those Steve Jobs portraits, black and white, Levi Sim original.
Right.
Yeah.
It's really fun to do, and there's some things. So let me ask Mykii some questions about black and white portraiture too. But for me, I love some of the technical problems black and white portraiture solves for me, and I also love the flattering way that we can focus simply on our subjects. Mykii, what do you like about black and white portraiture?
I love the drama of black and white portraiture. I love contrast. I love how you can make it feel vintagey if you wanted it to. You can make it feel poppy, like something that's now in this age. I just love the versatility of it, and like you said, it kind of helps out with the technical issues that you end up dealing with in the environment and such. So you can kind of come out with a very nice, clean photo. It's one of my favorites just because it touches base with me. I started shooting black and white film, so it just makes sense to my brain.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to see exposure. So.
I like the timelessness of the black and whites. There's something about them that, done well, it can be like it was taken yesterday or 20 years ago or 50 years ago, and it can really almost just stand the test of time. So
absolutely. Like last summer, I made some pictures for some friends, and they were visiting from Idaho, and I'm in Portland, and we'd gone out to the coast, and we'd done a bunch of fun pictures, and it's 2015, 2016, so of course the teenagers are wearing neon green shirts.
Right.
Oh no.
just exactly as I was doing in 1989, and you can tell which pictures were shot in 1989 because I'm wearing a neon green shirt, and so by presenting those pictures in black and white, not only did I draw attention away from the hot green shirt that he's wearing and replace it with his face, which is supposed to be the subject of the photograph. But again, we've made it more timeless because the colors and trends don't stand out nearly so much as they do in a color photograph.
Right. Cool.
And and while we're on that too, some of the technical problems I like that black and whites solve for me are things like zits and pimples, rosacea in the cheeks, just any unevenness of skin tone can be almost eliminated with a black and white toning and color filter effects.
Yeah.
And so
for wedding receptions and such, when I shot a lot of weddings, all the crazy uneven lighting from everything, black and white, pretty clear, pretty easy.
Yeah.
Right. And, go for it, Rob.
I was just saying, noisy images sometimes can.
Exactly, that's what I was going to do too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. In fact, I add grain to black and white photographs to increase their funkiness. And who cares if it's a little bit noisy when we go black and white?
Yeah.
So.
And now there's lots of different ways to make a black and white. Assuming you're starting with a color digital image. Obviously, if you shoot in black and white, that part might be done, except for finessing. But if you're shooting color, if you shoot raw, is that how you guys do it? Do you shoot in raw and then convert to black and white after the fact? Unless you're shooting.
What do you do, Mykii?
Funny enough, I shoot in raw, but I shoot in black and white on my camera, so I could see and preview everything, all the exposures, the way that I kind of want it to come out.
Sure.
Then I have to go back into Lightroom and then kind of adjust everything back into black and white.
Yeah.
I do a similar thing. So I usually shoot in black and white, but I'm usually also just shooting RAW. Occasionally, I'll shoot RAW plus JPEG and get to keep the good black and white from my camera. Now, Mykii is cheating. He is absolutely a cheater in this segment because he's shooting with a Fuji camera, and Fuji's are the Fuji's are the only ones where in Lightroom they have cooperated with Adobe to provide all the camera profiles, not only the color camera profiles, but including the 18 and 1850 black and white settings there are inside the. In fact, Mykii, can you show us that in a RAW file?
Now, when you shoot in RAW, but have the camera set to black and white, once the RAW photo hits your Lightroom, does it change back to color?
It does instantly.
Yeah,
it's like magic, and it's depressing. But so there's only all the Fuji cameras include the black and white settings in the camera profiles, and the Nikon D750 does.
Yeah, I think some of the other Nikons do.
The latest, I think 750 and newer do. Perhaps the 7200, but anything before that, I hadn't noticed it. I haven't used the 810, so I'm not sure on that one.
Yeah, it doesn't have that.
And even so, all it is the monochrome. It doesn't include the colored filters, whereas the Fuji includes like every setting possible and all the film types that they like to share with us. And it's really a marvelous way to shoot. If black and white is your thing, then a Fuji camera is hard to argue against. I mean, they're such great cameras anyway. If they just weren't so big, I'd probably switch.
Come on. All right, let me see. I think I got one here.
You got one? Okay, so give us your screen share.
Let me get this all going. All right, you see it?
And while you're doing that, Cecil's asking, does perfectly clear convert images to black and white like Nick does? And no, it doesn't. Perfectly clear gets your picture looking really great so that you can quickly go to black and white. And when you make your black and whites, it's well prepared for it, but it doesn't do black and white itself. All right, so we got Mykii's screen share on here.
All right, so this is my raw file from my Fujifilm X-T1. You can see all my settings up here, all that good stuff. Then under camera calibration under the profile, you do see all the other profiles that I have here.
That monochrome and yellow filter, monochrome and red filter.
Yep.
Well, and tell us about filters, Mykii.
So the filters go back in the day with film photography, how you can alter some of the color spectrum that comes in to either be lighter or darker, sorry. So the green's typically what I end up using for better skin tones.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Typically.
Interesting. I usually go red or orange.
Red, I always find that the skin, the lips, they get a little bit over brightened for my taste, at least to edit around. And yellow is pretty much a lighter version of red.
Right.
I use the green on mostly everything that I shoot. You see the small adjustments between each of the three.
Yeah.
4.
That's not bad.
I could count. I'm Asian.
And so if you go home and look at pull up that list again, Mykii. Yep. If you go and look at your computer, any of our viewers, if you're not using a Fuji camera, you've got about 6 choices, and here Mykii's got about 20 to choose from because the Fuji has them all built in.
Yeah, and so these camera profiles, they're trying to match the camera styles inside the camera. They're not like exactly going to be precise because the way the Fuji camera renders the colors, or the black and white in this case, uses a different engine than Adobe's Lightroom does or Camera Raw does. But their goal is to be like getting you closer to that starting point, to be on the same place, and then you take it from there, right? And so by choosing the camera profile, you're just coming with a different starting point than if you just hit the black and white button and from a different camera profile and started from there. So it's really a powerful way to kind of get started, right?
That was a really good job. I like it.
Yeah. So especially, yeah, if it's attuned and you have that many choices, it can really, and especially if you're shooting in black and white with one of those settings, one of those camera style settings dialed in, and you find that you can just start with this camera profile to be in a similar place to start from, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
The only other way you could do it is if you use the camera manufacturer's software to do the rendering instead of Lightroom. Or you shot in JPEG, right? So,
yeah. That's why I'm a cheater.
Right.
No,
I'll
that's
totally openly admit that now. So I'm totally okay with that.
Yeah. Well, I teach at a community college, and when we do a digital photography class, and we have a black and white lesson, and their assignment is to shoot RAW plus JPEG in black and white mode, just so they can see that on the back of the LCD in black and white, and then when they bring it into whatever software they use, they might use Photoshop and Bridge. They can see them both side by side and just use that as kind of like their target, and then do their processing kind of visually to try and get it, like that.
Wait a minute. You only have one class on black and white?
Yeah, sorry. It's a lot to cover. I mean, teaching the entire thing on digital photography.
I know what you mean. I used to teach at the college as well. And
there's
hard
also
to...
there's a black and white film class, so they've got that totally covered.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
Well, so Mykii, will you regale us with some photographs for a minute here? Show us some.
Sure.
Do you have a few faves that we can check out?
Yeah, let me get to that really quick here.
And prepare to tell us what kind of things you are doing when you shoot to prepare and plan for black and white. What considerations do you have in mind that you might find different, or that you've seen other people do differently because they're shooting for color? What do you do differently because you're shooting for black and white?
Oh, that's a good question, really. Things that I think of before I start shooting. Well, that's actually a really good question. I'm trying to think, because most of the stuff I always just do in black and white because I just kind of expect that I'm going to come out with a black and white picture regardless if I shoot in color or if I decide to go back and make it color.
Mm-hmm.
Most of it is, though, trying to create some sort of contrast in all the pictures. If you'll see this over here, I know that
What is contrast, Mykii?
Sorry? What is contrast? Contrast, that's a goodness. If I have to go back to my photo, that would be like the difference.
On the spot.
Yeah, this is bad.
That's right. No, yeah, I think we're on the same track there.
Difference of values between your darks and your whites and your blacks.
Right.
Yeah.
Like here, you've got some significant black area in this photograph.
Mm-hmm. So in this area, I like to have a lot of contrast in all these pictures. So I end up knowing that I want to either drown out the background, so I'll pull the subject away from the back wall or something like that, and I'll light it so that that background won't be seen. So I could create some of that if I know that she's got fair skin or fair hair.
So you pull her, you keep her far from the backdrop so that the light isn't spilling.
Correct. So that it's not illuminated and therefore just drops off as black, or like a really dark gray, sort of like this.
What color is your backdrop?
Most of my backdrops are like this. They call it like a fashion gray. It's just
fashion gray.
It's a normal gray, and then depending on how close I have the light, then I just alter the values that way instead of using either black or white paper.
Right.
So I tend to have some fun overexposing backgrounds like this one.
That's great.
And then increasing contrast like what? So yeah, so these are some of the pictures. I tend to think about that. I want to think about where I'm going to place the background, what the person's wearing, and how I want it to pop or merge into the background if I wanted it to. At least for in-studio stuff. Like this is one. This is just the gray. This is a proper gray, I think, I would say.
Right.
But there's contrast in her makeup, in her hair, and in her attire that it just kind of worked out perfectly like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
And Mykii, I've almost shot with you once when we were doing a studio shoot. I had to leave before it was your turn, but and that's because you were paying particular attention to the styling and makeup of your subject, and made sure that is that her?
This is one of the shots from that shoot. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one I didn't see. And so you spent quite a lot of time getting this ready.
Yeah, I have. A lot of time. I like to think that the time and prep outside of the camera, outside of me, including like a team and such, really tends to pay off in terms of overall finished pictures.
Yeah.
And I think I have another picture that I was probably going to change up with this here.
So, Mykii, do you end up printing these, or how do you? What's kind of the end?
Occasionally, I'll print them. Like I do have a printer at home from Epson. Currently, I have some issues with color calibration, so I haven't printed much.
Uh-huh.
It's black and white, Mykii.
Wow. This is one that I was going to deal with, all right? Give me a sec.
No, I'm sorry. I'm just joking with the color calibration issues. If we're printing black and whites, then just kidding. No, it does make a difference. Your color calibration absolutely makes a difference when you're even creating a monochrome picture.
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, I print them out occasionally. I'll print off things like this for the fun of it.
Nice.
Yeah.
You gotta have fun with your shoots, no matter what. No matter how serious the outcomes are going to be, you just gotta have some fun with it.
Absolutely.
So, Mykii, while you're in Lightroom, so if you just got back from a shoot and you bring in a raw image that's turns color, aside from grabbing the desired camera profile, do you do anything else inside of Lightroom to kind of finish it off?
I mean, the first step that I use when I import is I always use this apply during import setting.
Okay.
So if I have a preset already, sometimes I'll even use one of the Replicon Chrome or Mass and Labs or even Visco things just to kind of give me an idea as to where I want to be.
Right.
Or I'll create a specific profile with the camera profile in it, and I'll have it import with that, and then automatically.
Okay.
Marvelous. Well, would you mind walking us through a photograph?
Sure. I could try that with you here. I do have a raw picture, I guess. Let me see. I think I just pulled in that one raw somewhere. I think it's this one, right?
Yep.
Cool. Well, this one's pretty simple. I mean, that's what I came out with right out of camera.
Yeah, so that's looking great. The light looks nice. And tell us about your light in this. Is there one light? Is there multiple? What's happening here?
There is one light in here. This is shot in a garage. I had a 52-inch like octodome from PhotoFlex on just a strobe here.
Oh, good. Okay.
Use one light, and it's direct like camera left, and just pointing straight at her. Use one light, and then I have the wall of the garage on my camera right. Camera left has a light. Camera right has a wall.
Okay. So that's giving you some reflection.
Yep. So you can kind of see a little bit of kickback over here. Not too much, just enough though. Most of my lighting is very simple. It's one light. It just adds a lot of drama that I feel exists. But most of the time I start off with just a black and white here. I'll figure out that something needs a little bit of pop, so most of the time I'll just adjust the shadows down a little bit, even the blacks down, and I'll pop the whites up, and even adjust the whole exposure just a little bit. If I notice that my highlights are getting a little blown out, then I'll start touching the highlight slider, but I try not to because it does overall affect.
Yeah. It kind of flattens everything, doesn't it?
Yeah, a little bit of dullness that goes in there. Along with that, if there are areas that I know are troublesome or areas that I like to kind of burn in, I will use the adjustment brush with just a little bit of shadow reduction here. And I'll go in and paint in whatever I want, just to kind of bring out whatever I need. Besides that,
just to define, you're defining your cheek and jawline there. Is that the idea?
Yeah, definitely. So you want to get that cheekbone in there. Sometimes if the makeup is a little bit too light or not prominent enough, I'll burn those in just a little bit as well. And same with the lips. It's nice because I don't have to color match anything in black and white, right?
Right.
Burn it in, burn a lot of it really quickly. Sometimes if I want the direct shadows here, I'll just take, or I want harsher shadows, I'll just take the brush and just brush all the shadows I can on the body, and then adjust it if I need to. All right. Most of my work, though, in terms of dodging and burning, is done in Lightroom, just like so.
Excellent.
And then, occasionally, sometimes we want that little faded look of sorts that I'll apply on some pictures, such as like this one or even this.
Okay.
Let's see if I could find it here. All right, so I'll take my curves layer and I'll just drop a little dot here. This is my overall RGB curve, and I'll just flatten this out just a little bit.
Okay, so that's how you're creating that. So I don't have to buy Visco to get that.
You definitely know. Oh, we could add some grain in there if you wanted to, just to kind of make it more visco-y. But most of the time I'll keep it like that. I'll adjust the curves a little bit further up just if I want to have a little bit more contrast in it. But having that little push.
Lifting the shadows straight up.
Yep.
Gives really that faded look.
That fade. And it works great in color. It works great in black and white. That's typically what I'll do for most of my pictures, just to kind of bring up those shadows a little bit.
Cool. Hey, so I noticed our friend Pepper is
Pepper.
And he's asking if we're seeing, or in Mykie's case, creating any trends in black and white photography. Anything you're seeing out there aside from, so I'm seeing that kind of flattened look is maybe kind of
a little bit. Yeah, I'd say.
The pushed film look is definitely in right now. That's what a lot of people are kind of replicating that I've seen.
What does pushed film mean?
So you could basically take film. Back in the old days, you take film, you shoot it, and then you process it for longer than it was intended. And it turns out all your blacks and such end up being a little bit brighter. It's basically kind of re-exposing it a little bit brighter. Consequences of that are that you lose a lot of contrast and you get a lot of grays in your shadows.
Right. Which in the old days we would have tried to correct with Lightroom or with darkroom filters and things, right? We'd bring the contrast back in.
Yep, contrast filters. Yeah.
But now it's the cool thing. Okay.
So another question came in, and so just anyone who's watching, so the way that you can kind of get entered into win one of the 3 giveaways that we're giving away, Perfectly Clear. We have 1 copy of that to give away and 2 copies of Perfect Eyes, both from Athentech. Is just by asking a question or leaving a comment. So say hello, let us know you're there. That'd be awesome. But James is asking if you ever use any plugins for black and white conversion.
Myself?
Yeah.
Sure.
Occasionally I'll use, if I wanted to try to kind of emulate some of that film look, like if I've shot film side by side with my Fuji, I will try to use either presets that are built by Mastin or Visco, specifically built for those cameras and such.
Wow. And you feel those are pretty good?
Yeah, I've really taken a liking to Mastin stuff recently, because Mastin's a very global, I would say it's a global adjustment type preset, meaning that there's not a lot of crazy things that go on with profiles. Like Visco and Replichrome, they create profiles to help like simulate and emulate some of the film stuff.
Yeah.
Where Mastin uses the built-in exposure, contrast, and such like that to really take your raw file and give you something similar to what you'd see in film.
Huh. And so the Mastin ones use whatever camera profile you have already selected, not a specific one.
Correct.
Okay, cool.
So I really leave that alone.
So I use some of that stuff. Prior, in my older days, I used to try to use, I think it was Nick Silver Effects.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is now free. If you haven't grabbed that from Google, all the Nick plugins are free now.
I haven't used it for a while, so I kind of lost track of that.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, it's a good free tool. I personally also, I think my favorite plugin right now for black and white is the Mac Fun tonality, which, as the name implies, only works on a Mac, but it's really good.
Really? That's awesome.
Yeah. Have you seen it, Mykii?
I have not.
Oh, I'll have to show you guys.
Yeah, I just grabbed it actually. I haven't really even used it yet, but I did grab it.
Well, along with Pepper's question about trends that we see in photography or in black and whites, what things bug you when you see other people's black and whites, Mykii?
Yeah, say this before I do anything demo-wise too. I'll be embarrassed afterwards.
What is it? What is it? I really haven't seen too many black and whites that bug me, except for overall composition.
Yeah, right. Well, that's funny. That's something that bugs me in competitions is a category called black and white.
Yeah.
Black and white's not a category. It's just a medium.
It's painful. You see everything from cars to people to dogs in black and white, and you're trying to compare it. You're like, all right,
exactly. They're incomparable.
The things that bug me mainly are blown out everything. Like if you go so high contrast that you lose. Oops, let's see if that will go back. That you lose tonality in people's skin tones. There is a high contrast look that's out there, but it gets to the point where you end up seeing mergers or really close to or areas where everything just looks like that they blend in.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
This is really close, but it's not clipping yet.
Yeah.
But that bugs the living daylights out of me. I really muddy ones. So there are some really cool.
That's what I was going to say too. Is low contrast kills me.
Sometimes the low contrast can be really awesome. Like I've seen some really great ones, but they have to be done really well.
Yeah.
But most of the time, if there's not enough contrast, that also annoys me.
Yeah. Right. And one thing I find is that simply hitting the desaturation button isn't the same as crafting a good black and white. Just removing the color isn't the same thing as what we can do with our cameras.
Do you have any good tips for? So say someone maybe just started getting into photography in the digital age. They didn't kind of grow up on film and shooting black and white film. How would someone kind of develop that eye for black and white to know when they're in the right ballpark? When it's not too far, when it's not too flat, not too contrast. How do you just do it? Do you just shoot a lot? Do you just play with it? Do you
I would say
enter competitions? Like what do you think would be a good path for someone?
This is when it gets hard. I think a little bit subjective as well, because I think when I first got into it, what my mind thought was good was not what I was seeing on other people's stuff. And you can see like the variance of contrast between all my this is out there. The variance of contrast between all my pictures is there. There's a difference between all of it. I think that people just need to find their own feel and enjoy what they like, while still respecting a lot of the technicalities of photography in general, in terms of exposure and blown out areas and stuff like that, mergers and tonality. I think most people could have a good starting point if they just play around just a little bit. I'd say if they know if they're shooting in the sky and or if they're shooting landscapes like this and they want the background to be more dark, do some color theory, understand what's the opposite of blue, and then play around with that, because that will reflect in your black and whites in Lightroom a little bit, knowing like how that works. Well, if you want to get deeper into like photography-wise, that will help out.
Yeah.
I tend to use, at least for black and white conversions, I only have this raw photo, which is going to be harder. I tend to not play with these as much, the black and white mixers. I think Adobe did a pretty good job to really make that work, but you can play with certain things to kind of help out your skin tones or to kind of correct some errors.
Right.
But I feel like Adobe's really did a good job with their auto tone here.
Right.
So I think most beginners could just hit the black and white treatment in Lightroom play around with the shadows and the lights in the normal exposure pane, play with the curves a little bit, and not really have to dive into the complexity of this. Like, except when you want.
Because I end up going in there most of the time and adjusting the color channels in order to get the contrast in the skin that I'm looking for. But like I say, I like kind of an orange or red filter in mine anyway, so I'm usually brightening the skin.
Let me see if I can pull off an image really quick from my other.
And while you pull that up, Mykii,
Sure.
Rob, will you tell us about our sponsors one more time? This hour is flying by.
Yeah, and I'll even pull up my little screen share so you can see how you can enter in. So let me.
And I'll pull up mine too and show the links.
All right, cool. So.
And while you get yours up, sorry, Gary, we already discussed RAW and JPEG. Basically, shoot RAW and then convert. Unless you want both, then shoot RAW plus JPEG. So, but go back and watch the beginning. I know you had a little trouble getting in.
Yeah. So if you're wanting to enter in to win one of our prizes from Athentech, and you're not watching the Google Hangout page, you want to come over here. Let me hold this up here. From the Google Hangout page, this is one of our older Hangouts. Click the play button. You'll watch. You'll see we have a Q&A option. And then once you're in the actual Hangout, you should look for this little icon here. Click on that. Choose the Q&A button. Ask a new question. And then we see those questions appear on the side of our screen, and you guys can see them too. And that kind of enters you into the giveaway. Levi is pulling those up there. And I want to mention that this Perfect Exposure plugin for Lightroom is free. You can go right here, Athentech apps. I'll put this link in the Hangout page as well. So if you miss it there, I'm going to paste it right in. Boom, there it is. So you can grab that plugin, give it a try. And in a little bit here, I've got a little demo I can show you how you can use that with another plugin too. All right. And I also want to thank Drobo is also one of our sponsors. And I know I use Drobo, and I'm pretty sure both Mykii and Levi do as well. And actually, I was just saying before our hangout, last week I dumped a glass of wine into my MacBook Pro. Very painful, but took somewhat of the pain out of the fact that I knew that I had all my stuff backed up. So
you didn't have all your pictures on your MacBook.
No, I actually had those on an external hard drive, but I still had everything backed up, both locally here on my Drobo and also in the cloud. So I had everything backed up, but still, it was a very expensive bottle of wine, to say the least. There. Oh, great, you got that up there.
No doubt.
I totally
no doubt.
get you.
Yeah.
And here's the link for the Athentech Perfect Exposure, which is the free download. It's free now, and it'll be free forever. And it's one of the best contrast and color control apps I've ever seen. You'll love that it doesn't blow out the highlights when you brighten things, and it does not desaturate color. So when I take them back to do my color conversions to black and white, I've still got the full color scale, color range in there to work with.
Yeah.
And if you use the code Mykii20, you get 20% off Perfectly Clear Complete, which we've never offered a discount code during this Hangout before. This is our first time doing it, and that's a significant discount. I think that's about the biggest discount you're ever going to find. On Perfectly Clear.
And so now is someone is asking is they've never heard of Perfect Eyes before, and they're asking if it's new or if it's part of their Perfectly Clear suite.
It is new, and it's included in when you buy Perfectly Clear now, and it's got extra presets and controls for the eyes that were not included with Perfectly Clear initially. And so the new Perfectly Clear Complete includes it, and it's got extra catch lights. Like, it's got this wonderful tool for adding a catch light that looks like you were photographing outdoors with a gently lit horizon in front of somebody's eyes, and it's a really great way to add a gentle catch light that looks real in a portrait.
Yeah, and if you go to the Athentech website, they have under their support link a whole bunch of video tutorials as well on all their stuff.
Also free trials, and we've got a bunch on photofocus.com going
That's
over
right.
all of these.
That's right.
And we'll definitely demonstrate perfect eyes. We may not get to it today, but we certainly will in future Hangouts also.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. So that was Alan, and Jim is asking. He's going to go shoot. He's going to go scan some of his old film. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And he says he used to use poly contrast filters / paper. It's so funny we have come in such full circle. Yeah, and now it used to be so old-fashioned. Now it's in. That's the way it goes, right? With photography, and those trends.
That's right.
I hear that.
Very cool.
That's right.
So hey,
okay,
so
Mykii.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, go for it, Rob.
No, bring Mykii back.
Oh, Mykii was preparing something to show us.
Yeah.
Were you?
That's right.
Yeah, I just kind of forgot how that looked here for a sec. So I'm trying to connect to my Mac Pro that's upstairs, and it looks like it's doing a pretty decent job because it's got my Drobo and it's got all my pictures from most of my photography career. And this is just one of the pictures that I was just kind of that I had shown earlier. That I kind of tweaked around with the black and white mix. I don't know if it's clear. It's kind of fuzzy on my end.
That looks clear enough for a Hangout.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, previously it looked similar to this.
Oh,
wow.
yeah, like that's like kind
so
of a
much
throwaway
better.
picture, right?
Yeah.
Just where.
Yeah, so like pulling down the black and whites. I think I crazily went all nuts like this, more or less. And then I brought down a lot of the blues and the aquas for this cloud to come down. The clouds.
Now, do you ever do it with the targeted adjustment tool, Mykii, in the corner there, or do you always just grab it and drag?
I normally just grab and drag. Mainly
sometimes I find it separates the colors a little bit if I don't drag them together in the right proportions.
I know what you're talking about.
Okay. I mean, if I just grab the blue and drag it down, then I might be missing some of the magenta that was also included, and I end up with little like artifacts in the sky or something.
Yeah, I've seen that. I know what you're talking about. I used to do that quite a bit, but I just actually forgot about it.
Oh yeah. So if you use the tool there, then it grabs all the colors associated with the spot that you're dragging over, and doesn't leave out any of the tiny bits of other colors.
That is super helpful. It's a lot. It definitely is a lot quicker. Just picking it all up.
Yeah.
So I mean, adding that contrast in the sky really makes a difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I cropped it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a pretty quick black and white conversion. No presets or anything like that. Just straight black and white, adjusting a little bit of contrast and shadows and such. And then if we wanted a little bit of a fade, do that little thing I was talking about earlier.
Oh yeah. Not bad. So Mykii, are these people? Are you shooting for clientele this way? Are you just constantly practicing yourself? What do you do with these pictures?
I do a lot of stuff. A lot of it's for friends. A lot of it's for myself, just to kind of keep myself shooting. This past week has been a lot of work, as in like work, like senior pictures and engagements and such. So that last set of pictures you saw on Red Rock here. So this is what it looks like, black colored instead of black and white. Sorry. Things like this stuff.
Those are quite striking. Yeah.
These are real-life applications of black and white straight in engagements and stuff. I haven't gone through all of them yet, but I got quite a few to play around with.
Excellent.
I think this is one that I turned black and white and post on my Instagram.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I shoot for myself. I shoot for clientele in the same type of manner. It really depends on what the client needs and feels. So if I could get away with kind of a more quote hipster look, I'll try to shoot for that because that's what's in right now, and that's kind of how I like to shoot. Other than that, I mean, I'll shoot a lot of black and white just for myself, just to keep myself entertained and sharp.
Song Lee in California says, "Beautiful black and white, Mykii."
Hey!
That's why we have them on.
That's right. And Rob, did you have something to show us?
Yeah, I just wanted to show a couple Lightroom-related things to go along with what Mykii is saying. So let me share my desktop again. And do you see my Lightroom screen now?
Yes.
So one little thing I just want to show you. Lightroom has a way, if you're into making smart collections, there is a smart collection for treatment, and you can have that set to black and white, and that will bring up any of the photos that have where you clicked on the black and white panel there to make your black and white conversion. It's not going to bring in photos that were made in Silver Effects or other things where doesn't have that Lightroom black and white treatment. But if you just only use Lightroom, it should be able to bring up any of those that where you were inside of Lightroom made a black and white conversion. So
this is what happens each week. Rob says something casually, and my brain explodes over how cool it is. And this is really cool. I hadn't realized that was an option for smart collections. Rob, thank you for showing us.
So just a little I have just a little. I call it my dashboards. This is one by file type. Just other things that Lightroom can pull together quickly, and that's one of them. 625
black and whites. I think I made 625 black and whites yesterday.
I'm very selective. Here's me as a kid. That's
I love it. That's definitely you. That is definitely you. That's great.
That is awesome.
So the other thing I wanted to show was just how you could use a couple of plugins. So this was a photo that I love the expression. It was just a moment. We were hanging out with friends, and mom and son were wearing a wizard hat. So it had to be a pretty fun moment if you're wearing a wizard hat, but the exposure itself isn't great. I mean, the sun's coming in behind them, so they're a bit in shadow. So I thought, what if I ran this through perfect exposure? As just to kind of, I mean, obviously I could play with it in Lightroom and definitely open up the shadows and stuff like that. But what if I could just kind of in a one-click way, kind of open things up, maybe improve the lighting a little bit. And so this is the perfect exposure free plugin using just the intelligent auto, and it just kind of opened it right up. But it didn't damage the color. And granted, this was already kind of blown out, but it didn't make it worse. Really just wanted to be able to see their faces a little bit better before trying to make a black and white out of it. See it.
Click on that to show us the before and after there, Rob.
Yeah, sure. So this is what it looked like coming in, and then this is just after this auto exposure. And
what's really remarkable there too is that as it's brightening it, it's not reducing the density of color, and it's not affecting the areas that are already bright enough.
Yeah, and sometimes
like in Lightroom, we would have to go and paint in there.
Right. Yeah. This light diffusion sometimes is nice effect, kind of make things feel kind of warm and fuzzy. So that was just the preset there for Intelligent Auto. So I thought it did a pretty nice job, and that's all I wanted it to do. And so now this started with a raw file. So now I have this TIFF copy. If I click Save, it's going to render that out and close back, and I'll have back inside of Lightroom. So now I have this TIFF copy version of this raw file, and maybe I'll run that through Silver Effects. And so this is Silver Effects, part of the Nick suite. It's also free. So if you don't have either one of those, you can grab them. They're both free.
Great. You're all set. You've got a black and white toolkit ready to go.
Yeah. And so instead of making a new copy here, I'm just going to choose Edit Original. So I'm working
before you
with
get
that same TIFF. Yeah, go ahead.
Before you move out of this menu right here, Tim has a question about. He says, perfect exposure makes large TIFF files compared to my original RAW file. Can you reduce the size of the TIFF file? And you can. You can do it right here when you launch a TIFF.
Yeah, so if you're making a copy, is that what you're saying, Levi? If you're making
Yeah,
a copy,
exactly.
you can change the copy settings. So
Yes.
the reason why, usually why, when you have a large TIFF file, is because it's a 16-bit TIFF. And the purpose of that is to have more of that data go with the copy. So when you're doing your adjustments, you have smaller rounding errors when you're moving sliders around. Uh, and so if you're worried about file size, you can, when you're making the copy. Now I'm choosing Edit Original, so I can't change it here. But I could,
Because you've already got a TIFF, because
yeah,
it
if I
laid
wanted to
out
make a new
TIFF
copy,
perfectly.
so here I can go and make it an 8-bit TIFF. Um, so if that's a concern, you can go to 8-bit, and that would make it substantially smaller, if that's a
Right.
concern.
Millions of times. Yeah.
You can
It's not
always,
half as big.
right, you can always go, inside of Photoshop, you can convert to 8-bit after you've done your editing, if that matters to you too, but by default, it's probably going to make a 16-bit, and that's probably the reason why it's so big.
Mm.
So in this case, though, I don't want to make another. So a lot of people, what they'll do is, by default, this is set to edit a copy, and they might now make a second TIFF copy. So now you've got double, but I don't need this interim TIFF file. I want to just convert this one to black and white too. So I'm going to choose Edit Original, and that should pull that one over. And I'm going to do that. And so now I'm in Silver Effects, and I can just grab a preset here. Doesn't really matter which one at this point, but I can, obviously I can play around with it inside of here, and maybe I just want to maybe open this up a little bit more. This is where now Mykie's going to say, no, it's too flat. You're doing it wrong. Doing it wrong. Highlights are blowing out. So I'm just adding a little contrast, just using this tone curve inside of Nick, Silver Effects, and I'll click Save. And we'll come back to Lightroom. And there's my black and white. So now I have my raw original and my one TIFF copy that first went through perfect exposure and then finished off in Nick. And I think it's still, now it has that kind of timeless feel of the black and white. And, it's a little bit blown out, but I don't think that's necessarily.
It's not that big a deal in black and white.
Yeah. And where you have these two bright faces, I kind of think it brings your eye more to their faces than being super concerned about, maybe I could have done more to maybe tone that down, but I'm not really. Just want to show you the basic workflow there, that you can definitely use plugins to get a black and white as well. And now this, because I did the black and white conversion outside of Lightroom, is not going to show up under this smart selection. Maybe I could have, if you really wanted it to, you could assign a black and white keyword and include in your smart collection also, the keyword is equal to black and white, or whatever if you want to make a special keyword for that purpose, you could do that too. So
it'd be cool if I could set that so that every time I created a file for Silver Effects or for tonality, it automatically included a keyword. Does that happen? This is where Rob says, "Oh yeah, we can do that easy. Watch this."
Yeah, you can't make a keyword apply automatically just when you're sending a copy out.
Right.
You'd have to apply the keyword yourself, but yeah, I'll have to think on that one, Levi. So that was my little tip there. So any other?
Yeah. Stephen is asking, is resolution loss an issue with these conversions? And when we're in Lightroom, there's no resolution loss.
Right.
It doesn't affect your photograph. In fact, what I would recommend you do is do a Command or Control quote and create a virtual copy, or right-click on the picture and choose Create Virtual Copy. And now you're not even affecting your original color picture. You've created a new file to work on, sort of. And that way you get the best of both.
Yeah, so just to add on what Levi's saying, so in Lightroom, every photo that comes in, what you're seeing is really technically a virtual copy, because all a virtual copy is a set of instructions, right? And so every photo starts with one single set of instructions for how it's going to be processed. What Lightroom also gives is the ability to make a virtual copy, which now makes a second set of instructions that you can take in a different direction. So maybe you have a color original master, and now you have a virtual copy that you take in a black and white direction, right? And then you can even make multiple virtual copies and maybe try different effects, different camera profiles, whatever Mykii was showing you, you could do different versions of that. And then now you have just one original, one source file, but now multiple sets of instructions that are processed in different ways. Once you send to an external editor, whether it's perfect exposure or perfectly clear or Nik or MacFun or Photoshop even, now you're rendering out pixels and to make additional copy. And so in Lightroom, it has in its preferences under external editing, it has a set of settings that anytime you make a copy to an additional external editor, it's going to use those instructions to render this copy either as a TIFF or PSD. Either one's fine. They both will do the same job of having a layered file, either 8 or 16-bit, doesn't matter. So whichever makes you happy, choose that one. TIFF is the default. And then you can choose the bit depth, which is going to be 16-bit by default. Again, just so you have more data go with the copy, all right? That's the sign for more data against the hand signals. And then you can choose your color space, whether it's ProPhoto RGB or Adobe RGB. But if you're going to stay with a 16-bit file, then you might as well stay with ProPhoto RGB because that is really a great 16-bit color space for all of those colors. If you're going to go down to 8-bit, I think was it James who had mentioned that before. If you're going to go to 8-bit, then you might as well go to Adobe RGB because you're now in an 8-bit color space anyway. So at this point, if you're staying with 16-bit and ProPhoto RGB, there's no resolution loss, so the pixel dimensions are the same as the original. The file size in megabytes is going to change, but that's just because you're going from a RAW to a TIFF, and whether it's 16-bit or 8-bit, but there's no resolution loss if you're defining resolution by pixel dimensions.
And because we're using TIFFs, we're also not degrading a file every time we open it, as may happen with JPEGs.
Right. There's no lossy compression. So no, there's no loss really for all intents and purposes by doing that. And then even like I did is I went from perfect exposure, made a TIFF file, saved that TIFF file, opened that TIFF file in another program, happened to be Silver Effects, but could have been Photoshop, could have been anything else, and saved it. There's no loss of compression. There's no loss in pixels. There's no, obviously when you're moving sliders around and you're mushing pixels around, maybe you could say there's some data degradation, but that maybe is kind of splitting hairs there if you're worried about that. If you're going to get in, as they say, you got to break some eggs to make an omelet, right? So
That's
you're
right.
going to move pixels around. You're gonna break some eggs in there, but if the end result is a yummy omelet, then it's all good, right?
That's right. That's right.
I like
That's
that.
good. Let's see. Sung is also asking. He says he's been using Silver Effects more than Lightroom the last year. What specific effects are specifically superior or easier to use in Silver Effects than LR and vice versa? Well, I would say they're quite different. First of all, I mean, Silver Effects is a black and white tool specifically, and two of the things that I really like about them is the color filters are much more genuine than using the sliders in Lightroom, like we were showing you earlier, moving the color channel sliders. If you use the color filters, those do a much more thorough job of interpreting the color in the photograph in different tones without separating it, like I was talking about if you just move the individual color sliders. And then also the control point tool is really quite powerful, and the ability to adjust an area.
Oh.
Levi, it's such an amazing point. It exploded his internet connection. So
yeah,
maybe I'll come back. But what he was trying to say was, essentially, when you have a plugin or even just another program that was created. Levi just duplicated. He's a virtual copy. Levi has become a virtual copy.
Oh man!
I was just going to finish your sentence, which was, I hope. Okay, but I think you were saying, if you have a program that's specially made for black and white, it's going to have more tools and probably want to say better. It's because, like Mykii said, it's very subjective, but a different way of creating black and white, because that's what it's meant to do. Right.
Right.
Yes.
So.
Like,
And then there's things like structure and the clarity tools work completely differently than is even available in Lightroom.
Yeah,
definitely. And then if you use third-party plugins and presets such as like Mastin's ProLab and Visco and even Exposure 7 or 10 now, I mean, those plugins don't exist specifically for silver effects, and some of the feelings that come from those specific presets aren't found in silver effects either. So it really depends on what you're trying to achieve and what you want to really highlight in your work.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, most all of these things have some version of a free trial, so you know it's worth checking them all out. See if you know either intuitively it feels good for you, if you're getting the results that kind of fit your style, your taste, and you know, you just got to do it, right? You got to get in there and play with it and practice and throw your stuff out there to get people to react to it. And you know, the big bonus of sticking to Lightroom is now you're just doing everything in Lightroom. So you're not making duplicate files. It's probably going to be faster. You're already paid for Lightroom, so you're not buying anything else. So there's definitely advantage there. But ultimately, you know, that's what works for you. What's your goal? Are you happy with the output? Because you know, if you're looking at Mykii's photos, I mean, a photographer might ask, "Hey, what program did you use?" But nobody else cares about that. You know, none of your clients care about that. None of the people who are just looking at the, you know, the work, they don't go, "Oh, was that done in Silver Effects or was that just in Lightroom?" You know, so that's all that stuff we worry about.
Yep.
Although having said that, there are specific things you can do to your photograph to make me say, "Oh, that was done in Silver Effects."
Right.
And I recommend you avoid that. You know, I recommend you avoid cranking up the structure and the microstructure and the clarity, so that I know that little tiny halo that always happens in Silver Effects, when I look at your picture, I can say, "Whoa, Silver Effects," instead of saying, "Wow, beautiful picture."
Right.
Try to avoid.
Yeah, that can be said for Lightroom too. Anytime
Exactly.
you're styling your effects, you know, overshadow the image itself. You're probably not doing yourself any favors there.
Absolutely. Anything to add to that, Mykii?
Black and white HDRs, don't do it.
See, I love them, but not for portraits.
Portraiture.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh goodness.
Right.
So hey, we're getting near the end of our show here. So, any more comments, questions you want to get in there and get your name entered in to be a lucky recipient of either Perfectly Clear or Perfect Eyes? Jump on in there. For those of you that already did, thank you for all your questions and your comments. That's always awesome to hear from you folks, especially to see so many return viewers. It's always exciting. People keep coming back.
Thank you all for coming back. And
James, I also like Tri-X from Kodak. It's still one of my favorites.
Yeah.
See, I'm a T-Max guy too. I really enjoy T-Max as well. But yeah, James mentioned that. Well, let me throw up here one more time the link for that thing, the wonderful tool, the discount code, and for Perfect Exposure, which is free. Feel free to head to athentech.com/apps/perfectexposure and download the free app. It's not a trial; it's just free forever, and it's a powerful way to adjust the brightness and contrast of your pictures.
Yeah, and it gives you a real taste of what Perfectly Clear can do.
And I personally use Perfectly Clear Complete in every single photograph that I deliver these days. It does things like touching up the pimples and slimming faces, even if I want it to, that I cannot spend time doing myself. And it does it naturally, faster and better than I can do it on my own. So head over and use the discount code Mykii20 to download to get 20% off. That's right.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, guys. So Levi, you want to pick the winner?
We're going to get 3 winners, and our first winner.
3 winners.
Our first winner gets the Perfectly Clear Complete suite, And then we've got 2 giveaways for Perfect Eyes, which is a wonderful tool for adjusting, for sharpening and finishing off eyeballs in pictures as well. And our first winner is Sung Lee. All right, great. Sung. So Sung wins the Perfectly Clear Complete. And to redeem, all you need to do is weigh in and tell us you're still here, and then send me an email, levi@photofocus.com, and I will send you a download link to collect your winnings. So, Sung, if you're still here, please weigh in with one more question, and then our runners-up for the Perfect Eyes are James Kohler and Alan Gale.
Great. While we're waiting for those guys to chime in, I do want to also say, even though we're not giving away a Drobo unit, which would be awesome, I do want to really thank Drobo for sponsoring us this month as well, and especially thank them for saving my butt when I fried my laptop last week.
Right. Oh man.
Yeah.
I love it. I need Drobo. I just got one hooked up. Got some drives in there. It's smoking. It's great.
Which one do you have?
I got their really crazy B810N.
Holy moly!
Wow.
It's a pretty awesome beast of a machine. It's got all my movies on it, and I use a couple of the built-in apps to enjoy time when I'm just playing with my iPad or just writing articles. It's a powerhouse. It's awesome.
Yeah. Nice.
Excellent. Excellent.
All right, so Sung chimed in, and James chimed in.
Excellent. We're waiting to see if Alan is still with us.
Alan, are you still here? Alan.
I'm getting Alan.
I just remind you, ever see that BBC Animal Talks? It's like
Alan.
That totally just popped out of my mind.
Alan.
That's it. That's totally it. I'll have to put a link to that.
And Alan's been a winner with us before, so it pays to watch.
Yeah, keep coming back
regularly with us to join us.
All right. Do you have a runner-up? Because that's always how.
That's how we get people to sign up. I'm ready with the runner-up. If Alan doesn't weigh in here for Perfect Eyes.
Alan.
Wait, Steve.
I'm not seeing him.
It's not right. It's not Alan.
Right, who's our runner-upper?
Our runner-up is Tim Tilden.
Tim,
are you still here? Drop us one more question and tell us you're here.
Jump in there.
And it's all you. Whichever of you weighs in first gets the Perfect Eyes plug-in for Lightroom and Photoshop.
Alan already said something there.
Oh, Alan. He has Perfect Eyes. So.
Well, thanks, Alan. I'm glad you've got it.
All right. Was it Tim or Jim that you said?
Tim Tilden.
Tim. Okay, Tim. Tim, are you still here? Oh, and Jim is asking.
I went to the beach.
Jim Beals is asking for us to put the links to the presets Mykii referred to.
Sure, I could find some links for you.
Just put them on. If you put them on the Google Plus page, like as a comment, it'll be kind of attached.
As a comment on the event page, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I don't use Google much.
Figure that one out. You know what? Drop them to me in the chat here, Mykii, and I'll post them.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Sorry.
Great.
No, that's good. Well, I sent you a direct link to this window, so that wouldn't do it. Tim.
Tim's
no
not.
Tim.
No Tim.
Well, Jim is next on the list. So Jim Beals, if you're still here, weigh in and send me an email, Jim, and I've got Perfect Eyes for you. Thanks, Dana. Oh, yeah, so Jim's still here. Jim, it's all yours. Send me an email. So
right,
Sung,
great.
Jim, and who was it?
James.
James Kohler. Please send me an email, Levi@photofocus,
Big day
and
for James here.
we'll send those to you. Thanks very much, guys.
Hey, so before we go, Mykii.
Yes.
Where can we find out more about you?
Find me all over the place. You can Google my name. It's pretty unique.
That's
but
true.
at Mykii Liu, you can see on my little lower thirds, kind of in this direction. I think.
Yep.
I'll be on Instagram, on Twitter, Facebook, Flickr, even Tumblr,
Hey, and photo focus.
and Photo Focus. Also, who was it that was asking about the? Was that Jim talking about presets? I gave Levi some links for those.
Yep,
Also,
they're on the way.
if you're wondering, you could search up. There's an article I wrote on Photo Focus about some of the film presets as well. So
excellent.
Levi, your camera just dumped down to your hands, so we can.
Yeah, it's because I've got the other monitor up with the. Anyhow, you're just gonna have to watch my. There's nothing up my sleeves.
Levi's got to do a 3-card Monty.
That's right.
That's awesome.
That's right. Okay. Also, join us on Friday. Oh, sorry. I got ahead of myself there. Go ahead, Rob.
I was just saying, where can we find out more about you?
You can find me on Photo Focus. I write very regularly, and I'm on the podcast there. And I'm on Instagram and Twitter at PhotoLevi. Oh, I don't have my lower third up, so I won't click on me.
You can just write on a piece of paper, and we'll just see it.
Right. And I will be at the Out of Chicago conference coming up at the end of June. And if you are looking for a fun place to learn and practice photography, and especially street photography, this is the place to do it. We go on photo walks like every hour, and some of the best teachers in the world are coming. I'm going to be teaching with Tim Wallace. I'm so excited by that. Scott Bourne is there. Rick Salmon, Valerie Jardin. I think Marie Legnaud is coming again. There's just this all-star cast of
really great people,
wonderful photographers, and everybody shoots and gets their hands on. So I'd highly recommend outofchicago.com.
And Chicago's a really fun city. Really,
it's just a fun place to go. Yeah.
It's my favorite city. Yeah. And this is the 30-year anniversary of Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
That's right. Oh man, what are we gonna do about that?
Which was right around the end of June that it came out. So
I'm gonna have to work that into my photo walks somehow.
Yeah,
that is sweet.
I saw it in the movie in Chicago 30 years ago. That's how old I am.
That's awesome. That's really awesome, Rob. Yeah. So that's where you can find me. Where can we find you, Rob?
Well, photofocus.com. It's a good place. I'll be at Photoshop World coming up in July. And actually in June, I just found out I'm going to be in New York. B&H is having a kind of a show called Optics. It's for outdoor and travel photography.
Oh, great.
A few days in June 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, somewhere in there.
Wow, what fun.
It's going to be at the New Yorker Hotel and at B&H's Superstore. And I'll be there manning the Adobe table, so talking about Lightroom and Photoshop. So come see me there, and some of their mobile stuff. So it should be a lot of fun.
Cool. Now also join us for sign up for join the Photo Focus group on Google Plus and on Facebook, and our other groups on just about every social media platform. And we are drawing pictures to showcase on photofocus.com. As well as we've got more webinars coming up. On the 27th, I will be here with William Innes, and he's going to show us how to maximize your wedding workflow. And so I'd highly recommend you join us on the 27th for that. And thank you so much for joining us for the Photo Focus Lightroom webinar with Mykii Liu. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Mykii, for hanging out with us today. And this Hangout and all of our other Hangouts are all archived on photofocus.com, so you can rewatch this one as many times as you want, as well as check out some of our past ones.
It'll be ready to view in about 22 seconds.
All right.
Thanks, we'll see you guys later.
Yes.
Take care.
Take it easy.